Hello, Stampers. Welcome. I'm Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair, and I have a really easy technique I'm going to show you today. I may have even shown this one before. I don't know. I've done so many, it's hard to keep track, but sometimes it's good to refresh ourselves, and me too. So we're going to do some brayering with our embossing folders. It makes great backgrounds, and let's just go ahead and I will show you the card we're going to make, and then we'll make the card, and let's get started. So I'm going to be using this stamp set called Addressed to You. I was kind of excited when I saw this in the catalog because it's a little bit different than a lot of things that we see. And I like things that are unique, and I'm always looking for ways to decorate the inside of my cards and the envelopes. No naked insides, no naked envelopes. That's one of my mantras, as I know it is with many stampers. So this one looked like a great, particularly for envelopes. You can do something fun, but it has these four different little images. As you can see, there's some flowers, snowflakes, some trees, and some balloons, and then a couple borders where these images go in the corners where it's open. So the card I'm going to make is this card. And on the front of my card, I did not use it. But the cards I'm showing this week, you did see a card on Monday on my blog post where I did use it on the front of the card, and it certainly can be. I just used the balloons on this one. So it's these little balloons here that have 3 balloons. And if you don't like fussy cutting, find something else to decorate the front of your card, because you're not going to like this. I stamped that stamp 6 times, colored the balloons, and then fussy cut them out because there are no dies that coordinate with this particular stamp set. But what I'm going to show you today is this background. And I kind of wanted these balloons to look like they were floating in the air. So I wanted air to look like it's swirling around. And what better than the So Swirly embossing folder. So we're going to use that to make this background. So let me just clear out some of this stuff. This is the tutorial that is on my blog post. It will be on there tomorrow. The post goes live on Thursday. And this video goes live on Wednesday. I'm pre-recording this, so what date does it go live? Wednesday the 21st, but it will be on my blog post on Thursday the 22nd. And it has some written directions as well for the brayering and some hints about doing that. We're gonna do those today. So let me get this stuff out of my way. And the first thing we need is an embossing folder and a piece of cardstock. So I want my cardstock to go this way. I guess with these swirls, it wouldn't really matter. It could go this way. But the first thing you really want to decide, oh, and I didn't even put my ink out here, so I'm gonna have to grab my ink. Oh my, I knew I was discombobulated today, and I didn't feel very well prepared. So I'm guessing I've forgotten a lot of things, but it's right behind me, so at least I don't have to run across the room anymore. This So Swirly embossing folder, hard to see, I'm sure, but it's just swirls. And the first thing you need to decide when you want to use this method is which side do I want to put ink on, because we're going to use our brayer to ink the sides. Now, I'm going to show you, you don't really have to decide, because we can brayer both sides and ink both sides of the cardstock at the same time. So let me grab my balmy blue ink here. So I need to put ink at least on enough of the folder that it's going to cover the cardstock. And I made my cardstock a little bit larger. This is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So we'll cut it down to size for the card. And that gives me a little strip I can use on the inside to decorate. So let's ink this up. So I have my brayer. If you're using this Stampin' Up! Brayer, make sure these little legs, which we set it on when we're not using it, are up, or you can tear your ink pad. So I'm just gonna ink up this section, and I'm also gonna ink this section. Normally, if I don't want to do both sides, which there's no reason you can't, normally I start with the embossed side, which is the one with the logo. And I'll be honest, some embossing folders, you'll want to use one side or the other. This one, honestly, you'll see, it doesn't really matter. So let's ink this up well. And we want to make sure, in this case, we'll get the whole roller inked. And to ink it, you're going to roll, pick up, and do that several times so you get ink all the way around. If you just do this, you're just going to get ink here, okay? And then we're going to ink across. And I like to do it a couple of times. I like to ink my folder maybe once from one direction. Maybe I even do it more and I go this direction, because the first time you roll it, you've got more ink on here. And you want to make sure it's nicely inked. Okay, so let's also do the other side, just for grins. And I'm going to do it kind of down this way so it's across from it, and I get both sides. I could do the whole thing, but there's no reason, because my cardstock isn't that big. So yeah, my hit's kind of like do it maybe once, at least once in each direction. One time start on one side, one time start on the other side. That way you at least hit it once when you've got the most ink on your folder. Now this, and I'm going to put this over away so I don't get something in it. So I'm just going to lay that off to the side. And in this case, it doesn't matter if it's straight either, because it's swirly, right? We're going to carefully lay this on here. Okay, don't move it around, and then pick up your other side and close it. And don't let it slide in there, because if it slides, that ink is going to smear. So hold it firmly. And normally I would say have your Stampin' Cut Emboss out, ready to go. Of course, I don't have room all here under the camera, so I have it behind me. And this is a regular embossing folder, a standard embossing folder, not a 2D. Get that ink out of the way too. And so it requires two plates, one on the bottom and one on the top. And we're using this one here, which is kind of upside down, I guess, probably, or sideways. And it tells you how to do it. Always insert your embossing folder with the hinge side first, and it shows you how to make your sandwich. And in this case, since we have a standard embossing folder, we're going to use 2 plate number 3s. So I've got one on here. This is plate number 3. This one's old enough. I use it only for embossing, that it doesn't actually have numbers on it. It's that old, but you use it only for embossing if you save it. And I like to stagger my plates a little bit. It just makes cranking through the machine a little easier. And again, keep it tight so you can slide the plates on your bottom plate, but don't slide your folder with inside. So now, oh, and I got something in the way here. I can't even crank on my phone stand. There we go. All right, we're gonna, and I'm trying to hold this. There we go, I'm moving the phone. So sorry for the camera. I'm trying to hold this down so it doesn't slide until I get it nicely in there. And we're gonna crank it through. Sorry about that. Should have checked this clearance before I did this. I should have had my handle. You know what? We're going to turn it this way, and we'll finish it up this direction, because I don't want this to slide once it comes shooting out the other end. I'm trying to hold it. Okay, there we go. All right, now we can get that out of the way. I made that a lot harder than it had to be, basically because I didn't practice. you get this live. It is what it is. So now we're going to open this and pick this up. And you can see I didn't get a little bit of ink there, but I made it larger, so that's okay. It should be fine. And let's take a look. So this is one side, and here's the other side. And you get to choose which one you like. Which one do you think looks the best? That's why I kind of like to do both. This would be our, I think this is the emboss side, and I'm going to get really inky if I pick this up. What I would call the deboss side is these flat areas would it be down, and this is down. That's why it doesn't have ink. The raised edges are what's the embossed. So I think this is the deboss side because of my fat lines here are down, but it doesn't matter which one we like. I actually kind of like this one for this one. So I think we're going to use that side. I think on my other one, I used, on this card, I used the embossed side because you can see the wide ones have no ink, which would be equal to this side. But I didn't get as much ink on this side. So it's more stripy, right? So I kind of like this one, actually. We're going to use that one. And we're going to cut it down. And we will make the card. So where's my tutorial? Because I don't have memorized what size I cut it to. All right, I'm going to cut my technique sheet down to 5 by 3 3/4. So let's cut the 3 3/4 side first. And the reason I usually like to do that, in this case, I'm going to get rid of this edge. So we'll make this 3 3/4. And the reason I usually like to cut the long side first is because I get a longer strip, and this gives me a choice. Do I want to put it long ways or short ways inside the card? If I cut this first, then I might be limited. So I got a little muff up there. So let's keep this one. And this I said was 5. Now, if I only need 3/4 on the inside, 3 3/4, I could use that one. So here we go. We got that. And grab my card pieces here. And we're going to adhere that to our bony blue cardstock. There's not much to this card once you get your technique sheet done. And which side do I want up? This side or this side? I think I'm going to go with this one, kind of because here I sort of missed. So that'll be more covered. So just kind of look at which part of your technique sheet you like to see the best and go with that. Now, a lot of people will tell you use liquid adhesive. I don't always, but we will today if my liquid adhesive wants to come out. This is almost a brand new one, so it should come out. But I'm squeezing hard and it's stuck. Oh, goodness. Oh, look at that. What a mess. That means I'm going to have to get gluey. There was a clog up there in that point, wasn't there? There it is, right there. Or something I can wipe my fingers on. Oh, now it works so much better. It had a clog. Don't know why. Maybe I didn't put that on tight enough at some point. Who knows? So it doesn't matter which way I put it right now because I can always flip it around. But we're just going to go ahead and assemble these. And this here, I might as well assemble these. Here I'm going to use my snail. I am still a snail. Here, I tell how long I've been doing this. Seal, stamp and seal. So we will make this strip a little off the edge there, so we'll just roll that around. The colors here are Balmy Blue, Night of Navy, and Granny Apple Green. A little bit different color combination for me. I don't know that I've ever put these together. And here's my balloon. So I'm just gonna, I made these. I was not gonna make you watch me color and cut all those out. You can thank me later. But let's stamp the happy birthday, and I need Night of Navy ink too. Oh, and Night of Navy ink is elsewhere. Here we go. I got stuff everywhere. I'm glad you can only see a small portion of my area. So here we go. And I am using the happy and the birthday. We'll do the birthday first. And if this is where my balloons are kind of going to be, we'll just eyeball it here. Oh, and I got kind of a lot of ink on this one. Hopefully I don't get a smudge. I'll go lightly and not rock. There we go. And that's it. So now we're just going to put this together. And finish assembling, and we'll have the card front done. Then I'm going to show you how to use this stamp set on the inside. I didn't show you the inside of the card, but we will make that as well, as long as we're doing this. I did pop this up on dimensionals. That's totally up to you. I am kind of a dimensional-holic, as I've mentioned many times. So I think even simple cards like this one with just a pretty background and a layered strip can really benefit from having a better dimension. To me, it just, as my mom would say, it just does something to it. So let's go ahead and put that on here. And I'm going to put this on the card front now. Take my insides out. And here I will, because I put that on there already, rolling it can be a little. With stamp and seal, once I have all the dimension on the other side, I should have done that first. The dimensions for these pieces are all on the tutorial, so no need to worry about that. You can download those from my blog tomorrow. And this I am going to pop up. I'm going to put this adhered directly to the strip because I already have that raised up, right? But then I need a dimensional under the top because this is raised. So we will put that there and just add a little liquid adhesive down here at the bottom. And I'm going to center it about in there, I guess. Kind of hold it in place. When I put these balloons together, I should have shown you that before I glued it down. But I assembled them on a piece of basic white scrap. By doing that, it was easier to locate them, figure out where I wanted them. Then I just trimmed. I didn't adhere around the outside. I just put my scissors under there and I roughly cut that out. So that's why I could handle them all in one piece. It just made it simpler for handling and manipulating. And I didn't pre-make my bow here for you, so you don't have to watch me do that. I am not someone you want to learn to make bows from, unless you like to use a bow easy. which is what I use. I know I mention it a lot. Do you guys know what a Bow Easy is? I can show you. We'll just stick that there. And I see got a little muff over here. Here's a Bow Easy. This is what it is. It's basically just, this is a piece of plastic. I think my first one, I don't remember. I actually got it from the company called Bow Easy. Now I think I found this one on Amazon because I don't know that the company sells it anymore. They probably just sell it on Amazon, but there's no labels or anything. But I still call it a Bow Easy. And all of these little fork things that you see, you can make a different size bow for each of them. Now, do you really need this piece of plastic? No. You can use a fork. You could also just take a piece of cardboard and cut a slot in it to make your bow. But for me, it's a lot easier to make a bow with a Bow Easy than to try to tie it. Now I've got some Night of Navy little embellishments here. These are old. They are called adhesive back milky dots, but they're Night of Navy, so I thought that would be good. So let's just go ahead and put some on here. I got a muff over here, so I'm going to take a big one, little ink smudge, and we're going to put the big one over here. Okay, cover that up. And then I'm going to put a couple little ones, I think, over here, kind of around the balloons this time. The last one, I put them around the sentiment. I didn't have to cover up a smudge. Here I got a smudge, but that works too. So there, you can see the difference. This one is from the emboss side. This is from inked on the deboss side. And there's a little more color here, which you would expect. But let's finish the inside, okay? Because I want to show you how to do this stamp set. Not that you couldn't figure it out for yourself, but while I'm here, we might as well do it. Oh, and these have smudges on too. I think I have ink on my hands. There we go. At least that one erased off. Maybe the other one would have too. Who knows? I didn't try. Okay, so on our sample card, I used the oval border, I'll call it, and the balloons, and I'm going to use the balloons again to tie it to the front. I did have a small strip here, so I can use a small strip here. All right, so we'll just use our short one. But I'm going to use, instead of the oval, let's go ahead this time and use the rectangle image and see how that works, just so you can see them both. Here's the rectangular image. I did put this on my block already. Now, I'm going to show you this. This image is very flimsy. So lay it on your piece of paper and then put your block on it. And let's test it before we stamp to make sure I got it straight. Because those little legs, they do want to move around a bit. And that looks pretty good. I can tell on my grid it is straight. The first time I just laid it on my cardstock. We're going to put this over here. Or I laid it on my block, and these little things want to go wavy. So that's a hint. If you're using either the oval or this one, lay it stamp side down on your paper first, because then it'll take its natural shape and then stamp. Okay. So let me ink this up. And I like to get my paper square, and I try to put the stamp square on my block. Then I can just line my block straight across the top. There we go. Close enough. Now the balloons, I'm going to stamp the balloons with black memento, which I don't have out here either. All right, forgot all my ink pads today. All right. They're handy. Because I'm coloring these with blends, which I also don't have out here. But I am going to color these three for you, just to give you a little bit of a hint about coloring on blends, or coloring things like this to make them look not too flat. So I use Night of Navy, Granny Apple Green, and Balmy Blue. And those are right here behind me. So let me grab these. Balmy Blue, Granny Apple Green, and Night of Navy. Where's my Night of Navy? Okay. And I'm going to move my chair over here because it might be easier to color sitting down. I'm going to start with the Night of Navy, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to start with my dark one. And around, I'm going to assume my light is coming from, my source of light is coming from this way down, which means the opposite side is going to be in shadow, right? And probably this little pocket down here behind the two is in shadow. So I'm going to make that a little, that's where I'm going to put the dark. And then I'm going to come back with the light Night of Navy and color this in. And I'm going to color the whole thing, except leave a tiny little spot. You can make that spot as big or small as you want. There's just a tiny little spot of white. I'll make the next one a little bit bigger. So let's do the green next. And again, I'm going to start with the dark. You can, some people like to start with dark and then add the shadowing, some, and then do the solid. Some like to do the light first and then come back. On these balloons, I found I kind of liked to have the dark there. And so this side over here is in the shadow. And the light source is hitting over here. So I'm going to come and take my light. Now here I'm going to just open hard. I'm going to make sure I'm still in frame. I'm going to come and I'm going to purposely leave like a little halo of white. Okay. And I might have grabbed my, no, I got the, I'm going to use this end on this case because it gets it a little more inky. And I'll color a little bit more on this side. And I like to kind of like flick it from the dark to the light so it blends along that line. And I'll pick this up when I'm done. So hopefully you can see where I've left a little highlight. It just helps to, because that's what's this, if a light source, a light is shining on it, you are going to see a brighter spot, right? So here's our dark balmy blue. And we're going to shade him dark on this side as well, just like the others. Just do I have the dark or do I have the light? Yeah, this is the dark. And we'll take the light, and again, I'm going to come and color this side. Almost seems like the dark is light is darker than the dark, isn't it? And then we'll leave a little white spot up there. And you can make that spot as big or as small as you want, but that's where your light is. Reflecting off from there. And what I did on mine, on the larger one, I took my Winkle Stella and I came with my clear Winkle Stella and I just kind of added a little bit of shimmer just on that white spot. Now it will bleed this, we'll make it bleed a little bit, which is why leaving a larger white spot is good. I could come back with my color lifter and remove a little bit more if I wanted to take time and play with that. That's kind of a personal choice, I guess. But let's go ahead and we'll give this some little blue bubbles here. So this was the dark. I made the big ones darker, and the little ones will use the light just for grins. Okay. Now we need a sentiment, and the sentiment I picked is from Banner Sayings, and I'm going to use this one, wishing you good things. It is a birthday card, so wishing you good things is good. And let me move my chair back out of the way. I don't think I could stand in color. Maybe I could, but it's hard. It's easier to sit in color. And we'll just put this in here. And I stamped that with Night of Navy. I don't know about you, but my old eyes, I like to stamp my sentiments with whatever the darkest color. I could stamp it with Balmy Blue or Granny Apple Green, but Night of Navy is dark. And I know I send my cards also sometimes to people whose eyes are about the same age as me. So I like to use the dark one. So I used on the other side, this one I don't think it's really going to matter. I'm going to use this one. It's just got a little bit more color. This is one of the scraps I cut off. I could use the other scrap too, but then I'd have to trim it down because it was, I missed part of it, right? Where's my cover? Here we go. So we'll just add this to this edge. Just dresses it up just a tad. And I will take my envelope. I'll show you my envelope. I don't make you watch me do it, but I'm going to use this same image on the front, and I will leave this empty. And I will stamp in the center. There's some lines, so we can stamp the lines. I won't make you watch me do that. I think you get the idea on how to do that, how to color with the Stampin' Blends. I just thought maybe you'd like to see how I color with Stampin' Blends. And again, there's no right way or wrong way for coloring with blends. Everybody has kind of their, I gotta trim this just a smidge. Where's my scissors? It is just a tiny bit above my cardstock. Of course, I discover that after I put the glue on, right? Oops. Trying to keep my hands out of the glue. There we go. And we will put this on the inside and our card will be done. I'll show you my envelope that I completed for the first one, and I will make one for this one as well. I could also make additional technique sheet if I wanted, or use the opposite side to color to add to my flap if I made it long enough. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the inside of a card, not that one. That one's the done one. Here we go. Okay. All right, I think that makes a pretty inside. So this stamp set, if you like to decorate the inside of your card, gives you some options. And my envelope, I will make an envelope with the rectangle to complete my set. I stamped Happy Mail on here because, you know, we stampers, we call this Happy Mail. But I'm going to use the rectangle one so that it coordinates with this. And you don't need to watch me do that, but you get the idea, right? So I hope you learned some tips and some tricks. I am going to move back to my laptop. I hope you like that. That's an easy technique to do with embossing folder. You do need embossing folders, so you'll need a stamp and cut and emboss or some equivalent machine to do embossing. If you don't have that, then this technique at this point in your life is not for you until you make the investment in a die cutting machine or an embossing machine. So I hope you like it. If you did, I'd love if you gave me a thumbs up. I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel. That'd be awesome. And we will see you next week with something else. Remember, the tutorial and the post will be available tomorrow on myfairlessstampandflair.com. Until then, have a great day and God bless. Bye-bye.